Hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today I want to take a quick look at Sigma and Octantis, which is probably the rarest weapon in the game as of right now, especially if you exclude Skana and Leto Prime. The reason it's so rare is because it's the 700-day logging reward, so the only way to get it is if you log in on 700 separate days. Now the weapon doesn't have any mastery rank requirement, which is understandable because it would kind of suck to spend 700 days logging in only to then realize that you're not high enough mastery rank to use the weapon. It comes with a free weapon slot, a free potato, and it doesn't have any polarities to start with. It is a sword and shield with an attack speed of 1.08, which is decent, a very good critical chance of 28%, and above average critical multiplier of 220%, and a decent 16% status chance. It does 60 damage with each hit, 37.2 is slash, 13.2 is impact, and only 9.6 is puncture, and it comes with a unique mechanic that replaces the air attack, where instead of doing a forward lunge, if you press the attack button while in the air, you will throw the shield at a nearby enemy, doing the damage of one single attack and open them up to a finisher. And this works on a quick attack as well. And this is just straight up the coolest unique mechanic that we have on melee weapons. However, it does make slam attacks a little bit awkward because you have to aim straight down. If you're not looking straight down, it will throw the shield instead. Now there is a bit of auto-targeting going on with the shield throw, so while you can aim the shield throw yourself, it will generally just snap to a nearby enemy. So you're basically choosing the general area of where you will throw the shield. Also, the finisher thing doesn't work every time, because every now and then you will hit an enemy and another animation from that enemy will override the stagger animation, which is what allows you to do the finisher. Now the setup I'm using for now is a very simple 2-forma build where I've added 2 Vs, but I don't think this will be my final build for this weapon. I want to try a different, more expensive one, and I will talk about it later. But for now, I'm using Final Harbinger for the stance, but you can use whatever you want. They both have a V polarity, then I have Prime Pressure Point for damage, Condition Overload for even more damage as I proc more status on the enemy, Blood Rush for those juicy crits as I build up my combo counter, and Organ Shatter for crit damage. Then there is Berserker for attack speed, Drifting Contact for additional combo duration and some status chance, and finally Virulent Scourge and Vicious Frost for even more status chance and viral damage. Now the damage is exactly what you would expect from a Condition Overload setup. Absolutely disgusting. It absolutely melts level 100 enemies, and it doesn't matter if it's the Infested that have a ton of health or the Corpus with a ton of Proto Shields and also a decent amount of health, especially on the Corpus Techs or Wardens, or the Grenier, though it is slower versus the Grenier than it is versus the other two factions because you do have to proc a couple of stages procs on the enemy for Condition Overload to take effect. It's basically the only faction where if you want to do like disgusting amounts of damage, you need Condition Overload. You don't really need it for the Infested or the Corpus. Now the reason why I want to try a different, more expensive build on the Sigma and Octantis, even though this is probably the strongest build you can use on it, is because it doesn't really work with the shield throw. It has too much ramp up, and as a result the shield throw doesn't do a ton of damage because you first need to build up your combo counter for Blood Rush and then hit the enemy a couple of times to kickstart Condition Overload. So I want to try kind of a roided up version of an old school crit build instead, something that's running True Steel instead of Blood Rush, it's not using Condition Overload, and it's running 90% elementals with Primed Fever Strike, which should work with the shield throw much better. The reason why I didn't do it for this video is because that build is going to be far more expensive, and it's definitely not going to be as good as this one for just general play, and I really didn't want to paint this weapon as subpar, because it's most definitely not. This weapon is a beast, a very fun beast as well. I don't think I have ever had this much fun with a melee weapon. I even delayed this video because I've had the weapon for about a week now just to see if the shield throw mechanic or the weapon in general just gets old after a while, and it really doesn't. The shield throw is still just as much fun as it was when I first picked it up. It's one of those things that just feels awesome to do. Yeah, it's not doing like overwhelming amounts of damage and it can be somewhat buggy at times, but it just feels awesome every single time you do it. The login rework honestly cannot come soon enough because you guys need to get your hands on this, because this is just such a stupidly fun weapon. It's a shame that it's locked behind such a massive wall of time. So let's all hope that the login rework they were talking about is right around the corner, because that would make it much easier to get it, because what they were talking about is instead of having a linear path where you get items as you go on and on every 50 days or every 100 days in the case of weapons and mods, You will have sort of a branching path where you choose one of the login rewards and work towards that immediately. And if that's the case, pick this, okay? Screw everything else, screw all the other weapons. They are fun, yeah, but they are not as good as this. Screw Primed Vigor, screw Primed Tread. This is what you want to go for. This is the best login reward yet. And that's pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching, as always guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.